Coming up on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now, our Eagles-Bengals preseason preview and a look at the top players to watch tomorrow night at Lincoln Financial Field. We are one day away from the return of Eagles football. We'll do it live. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Join us for our Eagles-Bengals watch party. We'll be doing an hour pregame show. The show gets underway at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific. If you've never watched one of our watch parties, it's the best place to experience an Eagles game day outside of being at the actual game, and I hope to see all of you there. So the stage is set. I know the Eagles aren't calling themselves the defending Super Bowl champions, but let's be real. They are, after dump trucking the Kansas City Chiefs back in February at the Superdome in New Orleans, and I don't expect the Eagles ones on offense to play. We'll see what happens on the defensive side of the ball, but there are a lot of intriguing roster and positional battles that we will be watching closely tomorrow night. Kickoff is slated for 7:30 p.m. Eastern at the Link. And if you want to bet on this game, I'm a little bit concerned, but we have some degenerate gamblers out there, and maybe you can make some cheddar. You can do that. The Eagles are 1.5-point favorites, the over-under total at 35.5. And we discussed this last night here on the show, but let's revisit it here. Bengals head coach Zac Taylor said yesterday on Tuesday that his starters will not only start this game, they will play several series on Thursday night. And a lot of you might be confused by that because a lot of coaches across the NFL no longer play a lot of their starters at all throughout the preseason. But under Zac Taylor, the Bengals have historically gotten off to some really slow and sluggish starts, and then for the rest of the season, they have to play catch-up and really rally just to make it into the playoffs. Under Taylor's tutelage, since he took this head coaching job in 2019, the Bengals are 7-15-1 in September. And so this is why Zac Taylor is playing a lot of his starters for several series. And for Eagles fans who are going to be watching this game, hanging out here on Eagles Now, for Eagles fans who are going to the Link, this is really exciting news. You look at that September record, though, under Taylor, and you see those slow starts have really hurt this football team. 2019, that was his first year. Bengals went 0-4. They started that year 0-11. Then they took Joe Burrow at the number 1 overall pick in the 2020 draft after he won the Heisman Trophy and the Natty at LSU, one of the most loaded college football teams of all time. But the Bengals still went 0-2-1. The year they made it to the Super Bowl, what do you know? They got off to a faster start, 3-1 in the opening month of the year. In 2022, even 500 at 2-2. But the last 2 years, again, they've struggled in September. 2023, they were 1-2, and last year, 1-3 in the month of September. The Bengals are also, this is disgusting, 1-11 the first 2 weeks under Zac Taylor. Whereas a team like the Philadelphia Eagles under Nick Sirianni, they're really good in season openers. They're pretty solid throughout the first month, and then they peak toward the end of the year once the playoffs come around. And I like that balance for Philadelphia as compared to Cincinnati just having to play catch-up. And Taylor going into 2025, he's feeling some heat. If the Bengals struggle this year, I think that he could get fired because there's a lot of pressure on that organization after paying Joe Burrow and then this offseason, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, to not just make the playoffs, but be a bona fide Super Bowl contender. Now, on the other sideline, Nick Sirianni has not revealed if his starters will play. But this is going to be a great test nonetheless, regardless, for this Eagles team. You want to put your defense to the test? You want to figure out who can play and who can't? Go up against Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. Last year, because the Bengals didn't make the postseason, a lot of people didn't realize how great Burrow was. I think that he should have been more of a factor in the MVP conversation. But with the Bengals not making the playoffs, that's why he wasn't a serious contender to win most valuable player. But my gosh, these numbers are silly. He threw for more than 4,900 yards, 43 tutties to 9 picks. He completed just shy of 71% of his throws, and he averaged 7.5 yards per attempt. With that, we're talking some Eagles football, an actual game on the horizon. Who you got? Get your predictions in. Type CIN for the Bengals, PHI for the Philadelphia Eagles. We're only starting to take flight here on the show, but I gotta tell you about this deal. Saquon Barkley Kelly Green jerseys are 20% off, but limited time only. So pounce on that deal while you can, because these jerseys are flying off the shelves. All you have to do is use that link down below, chatsports.com/Saquon Kelly. That'll take you to Fanatics. Fanatics will know that Chase Senior, Eagles Now, and Chat Sports sent you. Get 20% off on these Saquon Kelly Green jerseys before they're gone, but you got to use our link for that deal to apply. All right, let's segue to this. The top Eagles position battles going on in training camp, and now as we segue to the preseason. Starting right guard, although it looks as though it is Tyler Steen's job. Backup running back between A.J. Dillon and Will Shipley. Third string quarterback between Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Kyle McCord, although DTR has been able to distance himself from the rookie 6th-round pick because DTR has been carving up that Eagles defense and making some really impressive plays throughout the last week and change. And then there's wide receiver 4 and wide receiver 5 and potentially wide receiver 6, depending on how many wide receivers the Eagles plan on keeping on the 53-man roster. And then elsewhere on offense for the top position battles here, how many tight ends will Philadelphia keep? Last year they held on to 2, and it was Dallas Goedert and Grant Calcaterra. So is there a spot on the 53 for Kylan Granson, who's pictured here to my right, Harrison Bryant? Those are the other 2 tight ends who are in the mix there at that position. Dallas Goedert, by the way, having a fantastic training camp. On offense, these are my top offensive players to watch. We know what we're going to get from some of these solidified stars and starters on this Eagles team. But how about some of the other lesser-known players who have an opportunity to make themselves some money and earn a roster spot here in the preseason? Tyler Steen, if he plays, he needs to be more consistent at that right guard spot as he looks to replace Mekhi Becton. Elijah Cooks has had a phenomenal training camp, and there's no question he has been the 4th best wide receiver on this team behind A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jihaad Dotson. Does that translate the great plays that he's made in training camp to preseason? And can he beat out Ainias Smith and Johnny Wilson, 2 draft picks from 2 years ago? The pressure is on Smith and Wilson to do something because they have had silent training camps up until this point. The UDFA wide receiver, Darius Cooper, out of Tarleton State. He's 6 foot, around 220 pounds. He can run in the 4.4s. One of the most productive wide receivers in FCS last year. He, too, making a serious case to either make this Eagles team or at least be on the practice squad. Cooks and Cooper have been better than Smith and Wilson. More offensive players to keep our eyes peeled on. Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Kyle McCord. Who is going to be able to lock down the QB3 role? Because whoever doesn't, not going to make the 53, and they'll be a practice squad candidate. Terrace Marshall has been dealing with a little bit of a knee injury, but he too is in the mix to make this team at wideout. Montell Johnson, Shunderrick Powell, Johnson out of Florida, Powell out of Central Arkansas, I believe. They are 2 UDFA running backs who I think offer this Eagles team very intriguing skill sets. Drew Kendall, can he beat out Brett Toth to be the backup center behind Cam Jurgens? And then I can't wait to see some of these rookie offensive linemen outside of Drew Kendall. Miles Hinton taken in the 6th round. Jeff Stoutland really likes him. Cameron Williams has so much ability. Is he going to play tackle? Is he going to play guard? Then there's the UDFA, Holland Pierce. Jason Kelsey was working with him during the Tuesday practice session and after the practice. And then Laken Vakalahi. Will he play guard? Will he play tackle? Do the Eagles continue to hold on to him? He doesn't count toward the 53-man roster because of the International Pathway program, but will he make big strides like Jordan Mailata, a fellow Aussie, made some big strides? So those are the offensive players who I'm excited to watch here as preseason play gets underway. And then on the defensive side of the ball, a lot of defenders that we want to look at too. Jihaad Campbell, rookie 1st-round pick. Does Vic Fangio test him out as an off-ball guy and as an edge rusher? I can't wait to see the versatility on display. 2nd-round pick Andrew Makuba with good play in the preseason. Can he lock down that starting job alongside Reed Blankenship at safety, or will it be Sidney Brown, Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson, now competing with Jacorian Bennett to start opposite of Quinyon Mitchell at outside corner? Big preseason games coming up for both of those players. The same can be said for Eli Ricks, who's a dark horse to maybe get some snaps at outside corner. Or does Jacorian Bennett make Eli Ricks not make this team? The pass rusher rotation outside of the starters, who right now are Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt. Josh Uche has had a good camp. Azeez Ojulari's been able to make some really good plays. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. at off-ball linebacker, he should start in this game. With the Eagles trading away Thomas Booker, opportunity for Gabe Hall, a former UDFA out of Baylor, to crack this team. Sidney Brown, he is that thumper, whereas Makuba, more of that versatile ball hawk. Antoine Powell-Ryland, another 6th-round pick. I think that he can produce and play better in games as compared to him playing in practices, because he's more of that hustle, physical player who in college was able to generate pressure on the QB and come up with some TFLs against the run. Smile Mondon, another draft pick for Philadelphia, the linebacker out of Georgia. That Georgia pipeline continues. He's a good special teamer. He even got some run with the ones earlier this week at off-ball linebacker. Mac McWilliams, probably the top backup behind Cooper DeJean at slot corner, but is Vic Fangio going to use DeJean at safety? And then Lewis Cine, an opportunity here for him to live up to those first-round expectations. He has been running with the 3s. He's in danger of not making the 53 either. The Eagles did make that trade on Monday night for Jacorian Bennett. Did a couple of videos on that acquisition. They're up on the channel. Be sure to check that out. Because he's so new to this team, I highly doubt he plays. But after he was traded for late on Monday night, there he is at practice watching on Tuesday. Just needs to get caught up to speed and acclimated with this Eagles defensive scheme. Predict the score. Bengals, Eagles at the link. In the regular season last year, the Birds came through with a huge victory. Who gets the dub on Thursday night?